Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Friday, July 3rd. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma. San Diego County is now on the state's coronavirus watch list, meaning restrictions and closures could come next week. Today, the county reported 10 more people have died from the virus and 489 new cases. Searching for some sense of normalcy this 4th of July, big crowds are expected at local beaches, especially with those in Los Angeles and Orange counties closed. Today, KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman went to Moonlight State Beach and talked to San Diegans about how they plan to celebrate this holiday weekend.
At Moonlight State Beach in Encinitas, many were kicking off their 4th of July weekend early, enjoying some sun.
We've been there before. You know, Moonlight is a really nice beach in this part, so sometimes we go to Oceanside, sometimes we go to Moonlight.
But this is going to be a 4th of July weekend like no other.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, no fireworks this year. It's going to be a lot different.
Many large firework displays have been canceled, and health officials are asking people not to gather in large groups or throw big parties this weekend in an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19.
We're just going to hang out. We're doing this today. We thought it would be less crowded and then just stay at home the rest of the weekend.
Normally we like to go and watch the fireworks. Maybe we'll go to the park or come to the beach early and hang out all day. But because of everything going on, we figured we'll just come a day early, hang out for a little bit, and then just barbecue at the house or something.
You just can't have people over at your home and, everybody's just hanging out in the cul-de-sac, because then you can go back to your own home to make your food. And
we usually go to friends' houses and we're going to be at home. We have one uncle coming over, just us. Yeah.
San Diego County is now officially on the state's COVID-19 watch list, and by next week we could be facing more restrictions, including restaurants prohibited from serving indoors. Some are hoping that the beaches will be spared and not have to close again. Today, many were wearing face coverings, and beachgoers say they felt safe being out.
You got your mask on, and that's definitely going to help. And everybody does his part. I think we're going to be okay.
Stay away and do our 6 feet social distancing and everything. And we've been good about it thus far. So, it's a little nerve-wracking seeing this many people out, but, we're hoping it's not going to be like this forever,
Across the county, some beach parking lots are closing this weekend, so make sure to check before heading out. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The county says businesses on the state's list should prepare to close or modify their operations, since new restrictions are expected to be effective July 7th and would last for 3 weeks. Indoor activities could be restricted on the following businesses: dine-in restaurants, although outdoor dining and pickups could continue, wineries and tasting rooms, movie theaters, family entertainment centers, and card rooms, museums, and zoos. The U.S. hit another record high number of coronavirus cases, and health officials are worried that group gatherings on the 4th of July during the celebrations will further spread the virus. Whitney Wild has the latest.
The numbers are climbing with no ceiling in sight. Thursday, the United States hit another record for new infections in a single day. The total, more than 52,000.
It won't be controlled until everybody's wearing a mask, until we see the percentage of new positive cases going down.
California, Texas, and Florida are leading the surge, with Florida tracking the highest 7-day average of new daily infections in the country. Thursday, the Sunshine State recorded more than 10,000 new cases. Beaches are now off limits across southern Florida, and Miami-Dade County officials set a curfew between the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
There's nothing more American than making a sacrifice by staying home to keep a family member safe, a neighbor safe, or a stranger safe.
Nearly 24 states are stopping or adjusting reopening plans. New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut are requiring out-of-towners from 8 hotspot states to quarantine when crossing their borders. The tri-state area is on track to keep some businesses and beaches open.
And they need to be wearing masks a little bit more and distancing themselves appropriately on the beaches. So we have patrols that are going to be going up and down the beaches. We have social distancing ambassadors on our boardwalk.
Health experts say you can still have fun on the 4th. The keys to a safe holiday are keep events small, follow social distancing guidelines, and wear a mask. In Washington, Whitney Wild, KPBS News.
A study involving local researchers found no evidence that racial justice protests across the U.S. led to a new surge in COVID cases. KPBS health reporter Taryn Mentos shows us how one protest organizer is hoping to keep it that way.
The crowd at a recent protest calling to defund school police should have included Rashana Lee. But 23-year-old Lee didn't attend because she was still waiting on her COVID test results.
I'm getting ready to do the test. Here is the swab.
She had no symptoms, but gets regular tests to reduce the risk of spreading the illness and to set an example for other demonstrators. She's a familiar face attending and leading protests in San Diego. She and other organizers have promoted the Get Tested message from the SD Protest Twitter handle to more than 5,000 followers.
So if cases are skyrocketing, we don't want it to be, hey, it's because of us. We want to point to the people that are enjoying their brunches and going out and drinking with friends and not wearing masks.
San Diego officials have linked an increasing number of outbreaks to bars and restaurants. And local researchers found protests in hundreds of U.S. cities did not cause cases to skyrocket. Joseph Sabia directs the Center for Health Economics and Policy Studies at San Diego State University.
We want to be clear that we're not arguing that COVID-19 couldn't be spread among protesters. What we're suggesting that even if that is occurring, it's not leading to net increases in COVID-19 case growth in those communities where it's happening.
He says mask wearing played a role and the young age of demonstrators because they suffer fewer complications from the virus and may be less likely to get tested. But also the protests in public spaces prompted non-participants to stay home. The paper still needs to go through a peer review. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
The family of a young Latino man shot to death by a San Diego sheriff's deputy 3 years ago is again asking for justice. KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser says the man was unarmed and was shot 16 times.
My cousin was tortured to death.
Rocio Zamora is the cousin of Jonathan Cornell, who was shot by a San Diego sheriff's deputy on July 5, 2017. The deputy, Christopher Villanueva, was not charged or disciplined for the shooting.
Brown and black people train ourselves. We train ourselves and our children to remain calm when the police harass us, when they hold us at gunpoint.
Zamora asked for the deputy to be charged with the shooting and for Sheriff Bill Gore to resign.
Finally, we demand that a historic marker be placed at the site of every person that has been killed by police, that has been faced police brutality. The families never forget. We think about this every day, so neither should you forget.
On the date Cornell was shot, deputies were chasing him to serve a search warrant, according to District Attorney Summer Steffen.
The detective stated on the radio that he saw Mr. Cornell reach into his waistband and it appeared he may have a handgun.
He wasn't armed. When Cornell moved his hands from behind his back to his chest, the deputy shot him and then shot him again as he laid on his side. There's no body camera footage of the incident, and internal records about it have not been released. The family is suing the sheriff's department over the shooting, and that lawsuit is still ongoing. Claire Tregeser, KPBS News.
A spokesman for the sheriff's department declined to comment. Veteran unemployment continues at a high rate. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh says even during a pandemic, there are still efforts to bring homeless veterans back into the job market.
Brittany Morello runs the job training program at Veterans Village. They provide housing, drug treatment, and even during a pandemic, job training.
We want to make sure that we're putting them into a field that they're going to enjoy as well as have the competency to do it.
This week, they were awarded a grant by the U.S. Department of Labor to specifically bring homeless veterans back into the workplace.
We're actually seeing a high number of employers that are reaching out to us to let us know that they have jobs that are open.
Overall, veterans unemployment topped 10% in June, a little bit lower than the overall average, but more than double the unemployment rate for veterans in June of 2019. Morello says some jobs are still in demand.
Bus drivers, we do a lot of commercial truck driving license, long haul, Amazon delivery stuff. There's a big need for that right now since everybody is shopping online. Also, a lot of armed security.
Much of the training is moved online. Face-to-face meetings are being replaced by conference calls. But some jobs are out there, she says, even for homeless veterans. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
President Trump is holding an early July 4th celebration tonight at Mount Rushmore National Memorial. Thousands are expected to attend, and the governor of South Dakota says they will not be enforcing social distancing. Nadia Romero has more.
I'm going to Mount Rushmore on July 3rd. We're going to have a tremendous evening.
President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are starting the 4th of July celebrations a little early with a fireworks spectacle at Mount Rushmore.
It's going to be a fireworks display like few people have seen. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be beautiful.
For the first time in a decade, fireworks will be shot over the monument. The national park stopped using them in 2009 over the increased risk of fires, but Trump has been vocal about wanting to bring them back. An estimated 7,500 tickets available for Friday's event, meaning thousands may pack into an area during a time when cases of coronavirus are shattering records across the country. And the governor of South Dakota says she has no plans to enforce social distancing, something the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends to reduce the spread.
We told those folks that have concerns that they can stay home, but those who want to come and join us, we'll be giving out free face masks if they choose to wear one, but we won't be social distancing.
President Trump will head back to Washington for fireworks and flyovers at the National Mall Saturday.
We're going to have a tremendous July 3rd, and then we're coming back here celebrating the 4th of July in Washington, D.C.
At the White House, I'm Nadia Romero.
A reminder for all of us celebrating this weekend, fireworks are illegal in San Diego County. San Diego Police and the County Sheriff's Department say calls about fireworks have gone up over 500% in the past few weeks. San Diego County Fire Rescue recently demonstrated how the at-home fireworks can start a brush fire, house fire, or cause severe burns.
We understand that people really have been closed up in their houses, want to get out and celebrate. Those same firefighters that are responding to COVID are going to be responding to a house fire or a canyon fire. So just think about it. It's not worth it.
All fires have amnesty policies for people turning in fireworks, no questions asked, to keep them from going off in the streets or starting a major brush fire. The Big Bay Boom and most other 4th of July fireworks displays across San Diego County have been canceled this year, but the show will still go on in some communities. All of the events start at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. In Poway, fireworks shows will be held at Poway High and Sportsplex. In Vista, fireworks will be hosted at Brangle Terrace Park. Both those events require tickets. In Santee, there will be fireworks at Town Center Community Park, East and West Hills Park. And in El Cajon, fireworks will go off at John F. Kennedy Park. The East County parks will be closed to pedestrians. Today, boaters, kayakers, and paddleboarders were out enjoying the oceanside harbor. Some harbor parking lots will stay open, but beach lots will be closed to minimize crowds. Heading to the coast might sound like a good idea since it looks like we're in for a hot holiday weekend. Marvin Gomez has your forecast.
Hope you're having an amazing Thursday so far, and thanks for staying with us on KPBS News. I'm Marvin Gomez. Let's talk about our weather headlines as we go from now all the way through our Sunday. Those temperatures will be warming up, and along the coast, only along the coast is where we will be dealing with some fog with that shallow layer of low clouds. And heading into the weekend, a high surf advisory may be issued by the National Weather Service as we are anticipated elevated surf and also strong rip currents here in San Diego County. Speaking of San Diego County, here are your temperatures for tonight. Mount Laguna cooling down to 54 degrees. 73 degrees will be your low temperature in Borrego Springs, and across Oceanside we're going to be dropping near 60 degrees. Friday and Saturday, well, we do have an upper level high pressure system across the desert Southwest, and that's gonna be the mechanism that's going to allow those warmer temperatures to move into our region. Here's a look at our Friday, coming up to triple digits in Borrego Springs 106, mostly sunny conditions out there. San Diego 74, Chula Vista near 75 degrees. Your Independence Day forecast across some of the major cities in the Southwest. LA 85, 106 in Las Vegas, and 110 degrees for Phoenix. Here's your 5-day AccuWeather extended forecast. Along the coast, notice those temperatures gradually coming up into the upper 70s as we head into your Sunday. Inland areas, it's going to get much warmer. We're going to be near 92 by the time we head into your Sunday. And then starting next week, temperatures gradually cooling down again. Across the mountains, we're going to be coming up to 80 degrees. That'll be the highest temperatures for the weekend. And in the desert areas, well, we're going to stay in the triple digits. Not much variation in terms of those temperatures. Make sure you drink lots of fluids and, of course, stay inside air-conditioned locations. That's all on my end. Thanks for staying with us on KPBS News.
People of color, especially Black communities, are being hit the hardest by the coronavirus. KPBS science and technology reporter Shalina Chatlani says chronic stress from racial discrimination could contribute to poor health outcomes within these communities.
In her City Heights apartment on a recent Monday, Fatima Ahmed drops a traditional Somalian donut into a pot of boiling oil.
Mandasi is in bread, in flour, yeast, and sugar, a little bit sugar, not too much. And with the eggs, yeah, to mix it, yeah.
Ahmed cooks a lot now to de-stress. She moved to the United States as a single mother over a decade ago to escape civil war in Somalia, where her husband was killed. She feels safer here, but recently the COVID-19 pandemic and protests against police brutality have made her anxious. Her niece, Faiza Warsame, translates.
Would they get the COVID-19? Are they gonna, face any problems with the police? There's so much worry that's going into my head when they don't answer my call and they're not giving me a call back.
Ahmed says she doesn't know any therapist who speaks Somali. She talks to friends and family to feel better, but she still often feels anxious and says she sometimes takes painkillers before sleeping.
When I'm stressing so much about my children, I don't get sleep. So with no sleep, the body hurts. So not having enough sleep and not being able to sleep, my whole body just aches and hurts.
National data show Black and brown communities are being hit the hardest by the pandemic. And many public health officials, including San Diego's public health officer, Wilma Wooten, says that's due to underlying health conditions like obesity, hypertension, and stress. But some academics argue that racism is a chronic form of stress that can't be treated medically. April Timms is a University of Southern California neuropsychologist.
Those kind of stressors can affect anybody, but we tend to see them disproportionately in ethnic, racial, minority communities. But then there's another type of stressor which is different, which is stress that's directly tied to your race.
Tim says chronic stress for people of color is tied to uncertainty. Will I be stopped by a police officer today? Will I be judged? Or will I be harassed? Timms and her colleagues looked into the science of how this anticipatory anxiety biologically affects the body.
And we saw that Blacks, more so than whites, had this pattern of sort of, if you will, susceptible gene expressions.
There are certain genes or parts of our DNA that regulate how we handle pathogens like the coronavirus. In her research, Timms found blacks expressed more genes that caused an inflammatory or swelling response and fewer genes that produced an antiviral response, which helps the body fight a disease. Timms says all the people who were studied had similar socioeconomic backgrounds and access to health care.
The only potential stressor that differed between the two racial groups was discrimination experiences.
The research suggests stress from chronic racial discrimination not only causes issues like high blood pressure, she says it also biologically makes it more difficult for people to fight off diseases. So it's not only black mothers that are worried. A number of young black men from City Heights launched a community mental health support group about 3 years ago. They get together in the corner room of a nonprofit group, United Women of East Africa. They play games, shoot hoops at a nearby basketball court, but mostly they talk. Abdirazak Ahmed is one of the organizers.
So how has everything been for you guys? I know we haven't met in a long time.
But not everyone in these communities have this type of outlet. One participant, Abdi Hussein, says there's a stigma within the community of admitting you need help.
It kind of gets brushed under the rug a little bit because as black people, we kind of have this aura of getting over it, and especially as teenagers and young adults and stuff like that. We're already dealing with life-changing things, and then on top of that, you add racism.
Hussein says the younger black generation is increasingly realizing how critical mental health is, but he feels that people outside the community are still not seeing it, even those who work in the medical field.
From a professional standpoint, the institutions that exist have to have cultural competency when these professionals are coming along to realize, okay, you can't talk to this person like a regular American, or you can't talk to this person like the community that you're used to all the time. You have to tailor to them, and you have to see what are the ins and outs of it. Hire, like you said, there's plenty of people that are psychologists that are Somali that can fill these jobs. Hire them.
As communities of color continue to be hit the hardest by the pandemic, scientists say racism is a key medical issue that has to be factored into the public health response. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
The Washington Redskins could get a new name. The NFL team announced today it will review the name, which has long been denounced by Native American groups and others. Earlier this week, FedEx, which is a key sponsor and holds naming rights to the team's stadium, called on them to change the name. In the past, team owner Dan Schneider has refused to change it, but today he said he would take input from sponsors, the NFL, and the community. Top advertisers are fleeing Facebook in a growing boycott over its handling of hate speech and misinformation. SDSU's Mira Kopik weighs in for this Friday's Business Report.
When you're looking at a 1/12 of your revenue being severely impacted, you have to really examine why that's the case. And this has been a pretty pivotal week for all of this. So not only have we seen Twitter put warnings on posts by President Trump, Reddit basically took out an entire subreddit called The Donald, which is a Trump supporting subreddit, because it continuously violated for well over a year their policies. Companies like Snapchat removed hate groups. So all of a sudden, Facebook is the one lone company that has not done at least what it seems like publicly, after Mark Zuckerberg made numerous commitments to Congress and other groups from really acting the way advertisers and the social justice groups want them to act. And so this is forcing them to act. And this week, they've been spending a lot of time on the phone with advertisers and then the ad agencies independently to figure out solutions. And they're trying to meet these requests kind of halfway. They still have a long way to go, but some progress is being made.
Today, a San Diego Padres player tested positive for coronavirus as the team started their summer camp workout at Petco Park. A.J. Preller announced that Tommy Pham tested positive and is asymptomatic and in isolation. Preller says the team has followed contact tracing, and MLB guidelines for the case. A shortened 60-game season is set to start later this month. Seven-time NASCAR champion and El Cajon native Jimmy Johnson has become the first driver to test positive for coronavirus. As a result, he will miss this weekend's race at Indianapolis Speedway. Johnson is said to be asymptomatic. He says his first priority is the health and safety of his loved ones and teammates. The film version of the original Broadway production Hamilton is streaming now on Disney+.
Get your education, don't forget from whence you came, and the world's gonna know your name. What's your name, man?
Alexander Hamilton. My name is Alexander Hamilton.
It stars Lin-Manuel Miranda, who also created the Tony Award-winning musical. The movie's theatrical release was initially set for October 20th, but the studio opted to release it early on its streaming service.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty.
It's the 40th anniversary of PBS's A Capitol Fourth, hosted by John Stamos and Vanessa Williams. The nation's 244th birthday celebration features new performances and highlights from the event's 40-year history. The event will feature a tribute to America's frontline workers fighting the pandemic and the annual fireworks display. A Capitol Fourth airs on KPBS at 8 o'clock tomorrow night and will also be streamed on Facebook and YouTube.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, summer surge. The U.S. tops 50,000 new infections for the second straight day, the largest numbers yet recorded. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
We're getting a look at fossils recently unearthed during a construction project near the border. Skeletal remains of extinct mammals, including camels, rodents, and possibly a large carnivore, were discovered at the State Route 11 Otay Mesa Port of Entry project. The fossil deposit was found by paleo monitors from the San Diego Natural History Museum. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.